So, I've just received word that I shouldn't make any MLP content because the Brony community is dead. And what I have to say about that is clearly not. I mean, first of all, there is still obviously a hype train for what comes next. And secondly, it can't be dead because I'm still here. So I'm about 90% sure there is at least one other person out there who is also a fan, maybe more, and this video will appeal to them. Good enough of a reason for me, I'd say. Like, have you ever decided to start streaming and you get to that point where most of the time you and your one viewer constantly interact with each other, hoping more would come around and hang out? Like, that's basically this channel at the moment. And I've also tried streaming and had that exact scenario, so I'm trying out YouTube. Fingers crossed for this one. Now begins the actual speculation video, or theories, or rant, or thoughts going forward. I don't know. I don't care what I'm going to call this. It's just verbal blather. Let's start with Pony Life, or what fans are starting to call Gen 4.5. And man, did that cause quite a stir. As of recording this, we barely have enough info on what this show is going to be like in reality. Right now, I think bronies are just in a state of shock because their favorite characters have been transformed into chibi monstrosities. I genuinely think we are being sort of quick to judge, and I also feel the same way about Gen 5, whatever that's going to end up being. Because we just don't know. We gotta take a grasp on some optimism here because it's brand new, a blank slate, could be anything in the world, and it could either meet your expectations, fall short, or exceed them by a large margin. I am personally incredibly hyped and curious about both these generations, and at the very least, if you don't like it at first glance, you should definitely give it a try first. I mean, you became a fan of a series that didn't even appeal to your age range to begin with, and now they are making at least 3 new things, including the new movie. They are now very aware that fans like us exist and will strive to make something to appeal to all ages once again. They now have the freedom to start from scratch, in the case of Gen 5, and not be limited by anything in this universe. You know, for all we know, Gen 5 is a point of conception in the director's mind, and we are already judging it like it's not going to be better than Gen 4. How do you know, really? How do you know? Like, I'm talking directly to the skeptics, of course, because, you know, if you're watching this, hi, sorry for suddenly tearing into you. But, like, let's take the new generation of TMNT, for example. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I loved it, personally, but people who have been fans of the series for a long time have this undue resentment, for lack of a better phrase, of some sort, because it's not the same, or they ruined TMNT. Like, did you watch the same thing I did? It had so much more personality, vibrant animation, and quality, and I'm sorry if you hate me for saying this, but I can't look back and compare it to the originals because it stands out so much more to me. Granted, I was never such a huge TMNT fan back then, but something like this should be supported. So much effort is going into this, because they took a gamble, did something new, despite being aware of an audience who follows them, that follows the series like a superhero comic fan would. Looking at the promotional art and the 2012 series side by side without biased lenses would certainly show that one of the two is a lot more appealing to the naked eye. It made a fan out of me, someone who barely watched the series to begin with, because of how different the newest iteration became. That's the kind of philosophy that should be carried over to Gen 5. I can already imagine people seeing a first look at Gen 5 and being like, oh, it's not the same. Yeah, it better not. The only thing that should be similar in a franchise like MLP is walking, talking, pastel horses, and maybe using similar names but with an entirely different design. They aren't going to ruin anything that happened in Gen 4 because it has nothing to do with it in the first place. Now, maybe the same can't be said for Gen 4.5 because of the number 4. People are comparing that to Teen Titans Go, which I can definitely see, but I politely disagree with. I think it's going to be more like Ruby Chibi. Just something based just focus on the comedy and the character interactions without relying on the story or the adventures to provide a sort of filler to the void, which is post Gen 4. That's how I see it, at least. I mean, it even says that the center of the world is Sugar Cube Corner. That's an exact quote without me stuttering. Hey, guess where Ruby Chibi takes place? Almost exclusively Beacon Academy. I know these two can't be accurately compared to each other, but neither is Teen Titans Go. These are just examples. But there's a whole fandom that seems to think that it can only be compared to something that is notoriously not great, thus this brand new spin-off can't possibly be great either. I mean, you can't even compare Gen 4 to the original Teen Titans, so how is that even a fair comparison to begin with? I know I'm going off on wild tangents, but I think some of us are just setting way too high of standards for something that's meant to be a family show, for Christ's sake. Even the writers received death threats over the finale because it didn't end how they wanted it to. That's disgusting. Anyways, the other purpose Gen 4.5 seems to exist is because of a new toy line for children, and even that's being criticized somehow. I mean, yeah, you could say it's not that appealing, that's fine, but if you honestly think that these toy designs are completely atrocious, yeah, do me a favor and Google MLP toys made by Hasbro and find one or two that you think look better. If you're having a hard time finding good toy designs, then I should tell you something. Of course, it could just mostly be up to personal preference. I can understand that. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that our fandom is talented and creative, and you could most certainly find merchandise that looks a lot better from fan artists and plush makers. The kind of toys Hasbro makes are made for little kids who want to brush a pony doll's mane with a plastic comb. That demographic alone is why MLP is even a thing in the first place. You know, My Little Pony. Sometimes I feel like we're putting Gen 4 on too much of a pedestal, and if there's too much change, it automatically becomes bad. The fandom will be ruined. But like, I wasn't around back in 2013, I think, when Equestria Girls was announced, but I'm pretty sure people were critical on the art style, and well, I guess also the fact that the main six would turn into pastel humans. Like, who knows? This could end up being the same thing. It's okay to dislike the kind of animation they are going with, but I'm sure it will be easy to get over with and get used to. Much like anything different in a franchise tries to do, let's just embrace the silliness that I'm sure will ensue with Pony Life, and be even more excited about Gen 5, which I am almost confident will be better than Gen 4 in my opinion. We can't pretend Gen 4 is perfect. There are still many things to criticize about that series. One of my biggest gripes is how overpowered magic is in that universe. I know it's fantasy, but I mean, Flory Heart and Alicorn Baby could have also been an impending nuclear bomb because of how reckless a child is, an infant is, holding so much magical power at that young of an age. Imagine a 4-year-old wielding a Dragon Ball style laser beams coming out of their forehead. Like, that's just silly. Magic as a whole in that universe, it's just silly, ridiculous. And only like 1/3 of the pony population uses it, and then there are immortal demigods who use 100 times more powerful magic, and then somehow a 12-year-old almost takes over Equestria. Like, it's not just me, right? Not to mention this show is still guilty of badly written episodes, whether it's boring, terrible morals, or bad characterization. With Gen 5, they don't have to be bound to the same rules Gen 4 had. It could still have terrible writing, but hold on, I can't remember where I heard this from. I think it was when the leaks were going around. One of the ideas is that every pony will be able to use magic, like every single one, and the magic itself will be incredibly nerfed. If that happens, it seems like a positive direction to go in, and not have to rely on like the discrimination between races as an evil plotline yet again for the 7th time in a row. They could do whatever they want, and that's the part that has me most excited. The feeling of exploring a brand new fantasy world while still keeping the appeal of cute talking ponies with brand new characters even. I doubt they are going to reuse the main 6 designs again. They might use Gen 4 designs as a baseline with some familiarity, kind of like an alternate reality, but they will surely be brand new with new characterization and voice actors. If it turns out you don't like it or it's not exactly your thing, then you have Gen 4 to enjoy all over again. 9 seasons of it. Trust me, it's a good thing it ended right before it was about to get stale and more people were going to fall off. Like, you should be glad that the season 10 even exists in comic form. I believe that what Gen 5 aims to achieve is to, like, attract a new audience with a higher age rating, I hear. That sounds like more opportunities to approach subjects that would otherwise be non-existent or incredibly vague in Gen 4. I think I've been talking about this for so long now, but I hoped I helped convince you those who are worried about what's coming to be more optimistic. I might be eating my words later if it becomes a huge disappointment, but I'm sure the creators know what they are doing with MLP. Let's not be afraid of change or afraid of new things. Instead, let's just be excited for another opportunity for this fandom to thrive again and meet new friends. There's going to be so many returning fans and brand new ones as well. It's like having a sequel to a fandom, and you gotta admit, that's pretty damn awesome. Let's just embrace this brand new decade with a brand new state of mind. It was due to like having this open-mindedness that we even watched My Little Pony in the first place. And I just know we can do it again. Okay? Thank you for watching. Sorry if I got preachy or went off on many tangents. I'm hoping to improve my content in the future. If you made it through all the way, then thank you so much. Seriously, I appreciate it. I plan on doing more reactions to some big things that are coming, but please comment on things I should react to in the meantime, so I can keep y'all entertained. I love looking at the comic session, so don't be shy now. Ta-ta for now.